Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. Is AI L&D's Extinction event or Renaissance? I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Section. Section is an AI workforce transformation company. They believe AI is the next great accelerator for the global workforce and take individual and teams who are AI curious and help them put AI to work in every aspect of their job. And now I'm very pleased to introduce today's speaker, Greg Shove. He is the CEO of Section, and we are looking forward to learning more about L&D's role in the AI revolution and workplace transformation. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Greg to take it away for us today.
Thank you very much, Alexandria. Great to be here. We talked about, when we advertised this event, about is this L&D's extinction event or renaissance in terms of the advent of AI, which we're now 2.5 years in. So it's clearly not an extinction event yet, but I do think we're at a crossroads or at a moment where I think L&D can add so much value in this moment inside of your organizations in terms of harnessing this potential. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today and give you a sense of what we've been doing at Section ourselves to harness this capability, and of course with our clients. One of my missions, my primary work mission these days, is to bring 1 million knowledge workers into the AI class by the end of 2026. So at Section, that's really the company's mission, and all that we do is focused on that. How do we get as many people not just ready for, but being productive at work in the age of AI? And so we'll talk about that today as it relates to how L&D should be doing that, or the role that L&D can play. I think in some ways you'll share this same mission for your own organization, because whether we want it or not, AI is coming into our companies, I think, very rapidly in most cases. Perhaps not in every organization yet, but I think eventually every organization will be AI enabled, or will need to be AI enabled. I talk to hundreds of companies, hundreds of executives, mostly from large organizations, but also from small and mid-size companies. The clients at Section range from companies with 100 employees to companies like Nike or Unilever with over 100,000. So I've got a good access to sort of how executives are thinking about AI as they begin to deploy AI in their organizations. To understand who Section is, think about us as small, scrappy, affordable. We get shit done. We know AI. We're not Accenture. We're not Deloitte or EY. Some of these bigger organizations, obviously, who got the big brand names. But if you're thinking about AI workforce transformation, how to enable this transformation, which starts with upskilling, starts with training. So I think we would agree this is the biggest disruption happening to learning in our lifetimes, this being generative AI. And whether that be at high school, and I talk to, at least once a month, I talk to a school administrator, either at the high school or college level. I talk to professors and teachers more frequently. So I do have a sense of the panic and the existential crisis and the parental concern and the level of kids who are accused of cheating, by using AI. So clearly, not just in schools, but in organizations in terms of L&D, I think this is the greatest disruption, greatest opportunity potentially as well. Duolingo made a lot of news recently in the past week around laying off contractors and essentially implying that their hiring would be essentially frozen in terms of new full-time employees. That's what they implied, and that was what most of the media picked up on, which a lot of people ignored. Was they also launched 148 new courses, and some of that burst of productivity and sort of ability to do that in terms of launch that many courses that quickly was because of their use of generative AI. And I think, and some of you might follow Philippa Hardman. I interviewed her last year in my Fireside Chat series, and I enjoy her newsletter. I'm sure some of you follow it. And if you don't, I'd recommend it. I would agree with her. I think we are underutilizing AI in all aspects of education, meaning from everything from middle school all the way to corporate learning. I think there is a moment here, and I really want us to harness it. What I learned, frankly, when I took over Section, I'm a hired gun CEO. It's one of the few companies, maybe the only company actually, that I've been the CEO of that I didn't found myself. When I took over Section, I hadn't realized really what we are as an L&D organization. We're an L&D company. we share really a lot of the same challenges and tasks and deliverables that you do as L&D leaders and team members and instructional designers and course creators. We make courses. We've made a lot of them over the last 5 years, both live in person, live on Zoom, and asynchronous. Those are our three have been our three primary learning formats, using subject matter experts, both internally at Section and, of course, talent that we put under contract to make these courses. And we had trained up until last year about 50,000 people in those formats, live in person, live on Zoom, and asynchronously. So a good number of students, that we had interacted with in these formats. We have been a premium business and still are. But I think that's going to change, and we'll talk about that today in terms of AI's impact on our business and how essentially I've decided to disrupt ourselves at Section using AI. But those 50,000 students I referenced have been really primarily through live experiences, sprints, workshops, sprints being 1 to 2 week learning experiences, and workshops being 1 to 3 hour learning experiences. So, our business used to be human-led courses, 30,000 students. That slide should say 50,000 total now. 30 employees with no AI experience. Well, this is 2022. Yeah, so 30 employees, no AI experience. Lots of customers, as I mentioned, across all different size companies. However, November 22, and then really seriously February the 1st, 2023. That's when I realized, by spending hours with ChatGPT Plus, that my company would face the same threat and opportunity that I think that all of us face. Any L&D team, anyone in the learning business, in the creation of learning experiences, or the delivery of learning experiences, or the monetization of learning experiences, any part of that, I think we have this moment of threat and opportunity. And that's when February 1st, 2023, so just over 2 years ago, when I realized I had to personally go along on AI. I then had to get the rest of the team to go along on AI. And then I had to get really our product line to go along on AI, to change with AI, and I'll show you that today. So this was the question I asked myself, and this is the question, quite frankly, that my board, sort of my CEO, that's my board of directors, asked me: is AI going to be a source of growth, or is AI going to put us out of business? Is this an extinction event where AI-powered personalized learning means that other formats are significantly devalued? They don't go away. Live in-person learning can be magical, particularly in a corporate setting when a lot of us are working remote. So getting people together in a room in the same place. So I don't expect live learning, in-person learning to go away, but I do see already the pressure on these other formats: live Zoom, asynchronous, particularly asynchronous. I think learning platforms sitting on millions of hours of asynchronous video, whether it be Udemy or LinkedIn Learning or Coursera or Skillsoft or Skillshare. I quite frankly think those video libraries are now almost worthless and will be devalued to the point of being worthless in the next year or so. Or would this be a renaissance for us, for Section, and for other L&D teams by extension? Would the businesses that we serve need new partners, need new capabilities to generate these kinds of AI-powered learning experiences? And could we deploy them to every employee, faster, more effectively, and so on? I think that's the renaissance scenario. That's the growth option here. Let's talk about enterprise AI for a moment, because it's beginning to gain traction. And AI until this moment has really been a small business and consumer revolution. This, like a lot of other technology disruptions, did not start inside of companies, and certainly not inside of medium or large size organizations, whether they be government, nonprofit, or corporate. This started with consumers and small business. The OpenAI numbers they recently released of around 800 million active users. I mean, that's a stunning number. Having been in technology for 30 years, been in Silicon Valley for 30 years, we've just never seen anything like that before. Consumers love AI. The world loves AI. They'll pass 1 billion users by this summer. In fact, one of Section's Services that we offer our clients is what we call an organizational readiness survey. We help organizations establish a benchmark for how ready are they to deploy AI, which we measure employee proficiency with AI. We ask them questions about their knowledge and attitudes towards AI. One of the things we do, because it's an anonymous survey, so it's very effective, we ask them about, what AIs are they using employees. What we usually learn is that the unofficial, unsanctioned, and unapproved use of ChatGPT is as high or higher than the sanctioned and official usage of whatever other AI the company has decided to deploy. It could be GPT, it could be Microsoft Copilot, it could be Google Gemini, whatever. So my point is, people love AI. You wouldn't get to a billion users if it's ChatGPT, a billion users if people didn't love it. So it's now coming to organizations. They're finally beginning to deploy more aggressively, more quickly. They're investing more, 23 versus 24. And I would suggest this will grow at the same pace in 2026, a 5x growth in terms of enterprise investments. And now government, we're starting to see, and not always competently, but we're starting to see federal government at least, and of course at the state level, investments in AI in terms of looking for efficiency. I think the recession, if we're not in one already, we're certainly in uncertain economic times and likely to slip into at least a mild recession, possibly moderate. It will accelerate AI investments. In my travels, I was in New York 2 weeks ago. Every executive that I spoke to, and again, I spoke to a range of size companies, small and large. What I heard was, absolutely, our investments in AI are going up, in part because we need to drive more operational efficiency, in part because we're expecting a recession, if not we're in one already, because we're seeing it in our numbers. And so I think this is not good for the knowledge workforce, quite frankly. I think it's good for CFOs and CEOs. They intend to drive AI deployment faster because of these uncertain economic times. And I think we have to be ready to respond. AI projects, the expectation, these aren't reported numbers, these are reported feelings almost. This is what executives are reporting. This is a McKinsey study from Q1 that they're believing that AI is having a material impact in terms of either decreasing cost or increasing revenue in these different parts of the business. So the impression that AI is leaving with executives is that it's working in terms of driving efficiency or driving revenue. And despite a lot of naysayers and for in some cases good reasons, hallucinations have not yet gone away. We were promised, if you will, or certainly implied 3 years ago, that hallucinations would go away as one of the kind of bugs of AI, and they haven't. And it's clearly still an Achilles heel when you work with AI every day in terms of having to deal with hallucinations. There are ways to deal with it, and the ways that we manage our own hallucinations when we work with our AI at Section. But notwithstanding some obvious flaws, these technologies are getting better and faster. However, or maybe not however, maybe because of, organizations are still struggling. I think really what's happening right now is the technologies are just getting ahead of the humans. They're becoming that much more capable, that much faster. There's such an arms race around AI technologies across the major vendors. There's so much capital funding the build out of AI that, again, notwithstanding some long-standing challenges like hallucinations, these models, these capabilities are really expanding quickly. I think faster than we realize, and certainly faster than we can use. And when we talk to employees, this is one of their challenges, understandably, is that they feel like they can kind of catch up and then they fall behind again in terms of their ability to use these AIs in their day-to-day work and workflows. However, if you're waiting for AI to stabilize, and we do hear this a lot from individuals, and we hear it a lot from heads of L&D, we hear it a lot from other leaders, which is they're sort of waiting for AI to calm down or slow down, and then they'll deploy, or then they'll make more investment. That makes no sense. That is a very flawed point of view and strategy, because AI's development, pace of development, will be at this level for several years. So waiting for AI to slow down and so you can get a handle on it, or so you can only offer one training and not offer quarterly trainings or something like that. That's sort of the thinking. I mean, I get it, but again, it makes no sense. You will need to be continuously training because of the rate of change, improvement in AI's capabilities. But people don't like change. We know that. A lot of research out there around our attitudes and behaviors towards AI. We have a lot of deeply held beliefs, by the way, cultural beliefs about work. Things like don't cheat, don't cut corners, hard work is a virtue. I do think AI challenges a lot of those deeply held beliefs we have about work. And we're going to need to, in our change management programs, change some of those beliefs. And I think L&D has a critical role to play in changing those beliefs about work and in creating new beliefs about how to work with AI, how to be smart because you're working with AI, not that you're cutting corners or cheating. However, we have a lot of anxiety, and there is data even implying that in terms of Gen Z, a not insignificant percentage of Gen Z workers might even be sort of holding back or sabotaging their employer's AI strategy. And we know that people are anxious, and for good reason. I don't think we're effectively talking about inside of our organizations the impact of AI. It's a very tough conversation. I can't tell you how many times, pretty much all the time, when I'm asked to speak at corporate events, at all hands, offsites, team meetings, I'm asked to sort of give my usual presentation and not talk about job loss in front of employees. I get it, but our employees aren't that stupid. They're anxious for a reason. And I think we're better served to sort of address that head on. I don't have time to talk about that today, but we can, or reach out to me and I'll share with you kind of our manifesto at Section and how I talk to our employees about the impact of AI on our work, on our jobs, and on our hiring. And it's clear that the jobs are already at stake. This is, I'd say, the two most significant job data that I've seen in the last few weeks. This is one which is U.S. computer programmers, which are not software engineers. Programmers are essentially the level below software engineers. The average salary is around $97,000 in the U.S. for computer programmers, and that employment definitely has dropped, as you can see from this chart, quite significantly in the last 2 or 3 years. And I think it's that's a correlation we can make. That AI does that work very well. It hasn't yet impacted software engineers. I'm not sure it will, actually. I think we all need more software engineers, not less. And if AI makes them more productive, that's a good thing. But we're certainly seeing it in software programmers. We're also seeing it, I think it's more of a sort of an assumption that a new college grad hiring is the worst it's ever been in about the last 20 years. Derek Thompson from The Atlantic wrote about this last week, and I've seen a lot of people sort of forwarding that story and reading it. And that feels right to me. It does feel right to me. I've got one kid that graduated from college a year ago. He is employed in New York, but a lot of his friends are not. So that feels right to me, meaning those types of jobs, there's less of them because of the deployment of AI, less of those entry-level jobs. It could also be for obviously other reasons, but if that persists, I think we can make perhaps that conclusion. That's what's happening. HR and L&D has been slow to adopt, unfortunately. I want you guys to be the change leaders. I want you guys to drive this transformation, but that means you're going to have to be, as fluent. You're going to have to be super users as anybody else. This is our survey. We survey 5,000 knowledge workers twice a year. We just completed our March survey, UK, US, and Canada. And that survey is large enough that we can cut that data by function, by role, and also by industry and company size and so on. So we get a lot of interesting insights from that survey. And in terms of HR and talent teams, this is self-reported. And then we also grade their proficiency. This survey includes prompting exercises, and then we grade the individual and their ability to actually have a good conversation with AI. So it's not just attitudes and knowledge, it's also capability or proficiency. HR and talent teams are lower than almost any other part of the organization. I think finance is also low, not surprising perhaps, but we really need to raise that. So I think that means if you're not proficient, if you're not experts, you're going to have a hard time, I think, leading others. And as you might expect, we're still early. We're 2 years into a 10-year revolution. But a lot of employees have not received AI training, and or aren't clear or don't know or don't understand their company's AI policies. And I'd say we do hear more skepticism from L&D. We talk to team leaders across the organization, and we tend to get the highest degree of conviction about AI in terms of improving productivity in the workforce from the head of engineering and the head of marketing. Again, very language intensive functions. We tend to get the most skepticism from finance and L&D as well, which is a little surprising to me, disappointing for sure, in terms of your ability to lead in this moment and be a valued partner to the business to make this transformation in terms of the workforce. But we tend to hear more skepticism from L&D, and again, surprising also because we're all in a very language intensive business, and generative AI, I mean, that's where it can be most helpful, is in language intensive functions and in creating language intensive products and outputs. The bad news is, and this is, I think, a recent development, it's still, I'd say, isolated, meaning CEOs going public with their frustration. We mentioned Duolingo already. The CEO of Shopify. Shopify is a mid-size to large organization, 8,000 employees, $8 billion in revenue. At Shopify now, the CEO has mandated that AI proficiency will be included in the annual performance review, and that you can't ask for additional headcount, human headcount, unless you can prove that AI can't do the job. The CEO of Fiverr, the gig marketplace, also went public with his point of view. I think we're going to see more and more of this, whether it's public or not. But I think we'll see more and more of this, at least internally, which is CEOs are getting frustrated at the rate of AI deployment or the rate of AI adoption. If you do buy enterprise AI, if you buy the enterprise version of ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot, any of these platforms, you get a good dashboard, and the dashboard shows you how many employees and how many conversations every day, on the AI. So once it's deployed, within months, weeks or months, certainly at the end of the year, you can see a very good picture of, how well is this being used? The answer is not well enough from the perspective of most CEOs that I talk to. They want more adoption. They want this transformation to happen. Their perception is it will drive overall organizational efficiency. The good news is, I think there's a huge opportunity, and a huge opportunity for L&D. I think that employers want this transformation to happen, and relatively quickly, within years, not a decade. They want this within years. They know they have a big skill gap. They know they have this significant upskilling opportunity. And I know that you feel, I'm sure, as we do, quite frankly, when we sell to L&D, when we talk to L&D, the budgets aren't as big as they should be. The teams aren't as large as they need to be. L&D has not been overinvested in, quite the opposite, as you know. It's always under headcount and budget pressure. But in this moment, I do think leaders realize they need a big hand here. They need a big assist to make this transformation, turn this corner, which is to become an AI-enabled organization. And I think whether your budget's expanding or not, you may not see it yet in your budget, you may never. But I do believe employers are building plans that include this level of upskilling and transformation. So what should the L&D playbook be in this moment? I want to optimize L&D and then transform it in the service of transforming the organization. And I have a slide, and I'll say it now, so I'll give away the punchlines. CEOs never buy upskilling. CEOs buy transformation. And I think too often we're selling upskilling, selling training, selling learning experiences. That's the wrong way to sell to a CEO or a board, or, I don't buy upskilling at Section. What I buy is the transformation, which was a year and a half ago, our team was using AI, once in a while, or, some people were using it a lot, some weren't using it a lot, typical. And what I said to the team was that wasn't acceptable. The transformation I wanted everybody using AI every day, not for the sake of using AI, but to make us the most efficient L&D team in the world. In fact, I just got off a call with my chief of staff, and she was asking about our upcoming offsite and what the agenda items are going to be for upcoming offsite. And what I said was, one of them will be, how do we become even more efficient? How do we absolutely, without a doubt, how do we own the claim that no one else in the world is making learning experiences more efficiently than we are? That's what I'm buying. I'm not buying upskilling. I'm buying transformation. I want my organization even further transformed in this way, and I expect AI will be the way we do that. So how do we optimize and how do we transform? So phase one, I think, for L&D teams is to optimize. What I mean by that is, how do you improve your scalability, your effectiveness, your outputs? How do you improve your outputs dramatically using AI so that you can serve the business as fast as possible? Using AI, you can serve the business better. And so there's probably 100 different use cases of AI for every L&D team. And it sounds like, because over half of you were using AI at least once a week or every week, so that you've probably already discovered these. My point of view in this is, keep brainstorming, keep the aperture open. Don't constrain what you think AI can do, but you obviously need to prioritize, because only so many hours in the day. But whether it be training curation using AI, you see a lot of AI learning platforms using AI to sort of help you find the right course or suggest the right course based on your skills. I think that's obviously a great idea. Automated transcripts and translations, some of the stuff, industry research, course research, AI copy for any of your emails, whether there be marketing emails about upskilling, whatever it might be, an AI chatbot for training, FAQs. You can imagine this list. Again, you've probably already sampled or tried some of these already. I think that's about, you're a language intensive function. You have outputs you have to produce. Can you accelerate those outputs? Can you shorten the time to market of your outputs in terms of developing new learning experiences? Can you improve the quality of the learning experiences as measured by NPS or completion? So can you customize training faster for teams? Would be one use case. Can you localize content? An obvious one. Another use case, can you analyze feedback? If you do solicit user feedback, we get thousands every quarter of surveys completed by students. And now, rather than humans doing that analysis, we use AI to collect all that feedback, calculate all the NPS and completion rates, and then synthesize all the qualitative feedback, the survey comments that we get. And then the human takes that analysis from AI and decides what changes we will or won't make in the product or in the delivery of the product based on all that feedback. That was hours and hours of human work before, and now AI does that every month, every quarter for us. Creating scripts. This is something we really struggled with AI, meaning almost the first time we got our hands on ChatGPT, we said to ourselves, well, it should be great for scripts, because scripts are hard, as you know, if you're a course creator or designer, you know how hard it is to create great scripts and in a timely fashion. And we failed for months. AI was just ineffective at being a sort of a co-pilot for script creation. It's now working, but it took us quite a bit of trial and error to make that happen. But it was such a pain point for us. It was one of those workflows or use cases that we really wanted to crack, because it would really open up productivity gains for all of us. So let's talk about Section, just using us as a case study, because we are basically an L&D team, as I said, of 20 odd people. Total companies 30, but probably 20 people at Section involved in the creation and delivery of learning experiences on behalf of our clients. We have now, it's taken us a year and a half, I'd say, 50, maybe, I don't know if it's probably closer to 75 now, but certainly between 50 and 100 AI-enabled workflows where we essentially did what we call workflow audits, where we looked at what we were doing in terms of the human workflow, and we tested and then introduced and then codified, if you will, an AI-assisted workflow. So scripting is one area I talked about, and I'll show you that in a moment. Building videos in terms of creating content, we now use avatars. We don't use humans anymore in terms of putting humans into studio. A lot of our marketing, a lot of our analytics now, a lot of the way we serve our enterprise buyers in terms of reporting, for example, is done by AI or assisted by AI. So what I'd say here is just a real consistent dedication every month over the last 18 months to introduce AI into as many workflows as we could effectively, essentially, so we would be able not to hire as many people, so we could become more efficient. So the team has grown. We haven't laid anybody off, which is great, but the team is not growing as fast as our business is growing. So we have been able to get operational efficiency here because particularly the education part of our team, the L&D part of our team, those 20 people are that much more productive. In terms of scripting, as you know, course scripting can be expensive, time consuming, hard, cumbersome. We wanted to augment that with AI or improve that with AI. And we thought about it as the outline builder, the first draft builder, and then a revisions editor using a Grammarly integration. We built a chat GPT. So our three AIs, that section that we use every day, are chat GPT, Perplexity, and Claude, which is the Anthropic competitor to chat GPT. So the company pays for those three AIs for everybody. And I'd say the most usage is chat GPT and Claude. And some will use Perplexity as their kind of research assistant. So those are our kind of go-to AIs. We have lots of others that we're using or individual team members might be using. We'll reimburse for anybody who wants to test an AI tool. And then they have to demonstrate to us that it's worth subscribing to. So we'll pay for a few months of a test. If they really need it, always on for their job, then if they can demonstrate that, then we'll pay for that subscription. It's sort of a no-brainer in terms of ROI. So how we think about our AI course scripter, it doesn't do everything. It's just like this is a human in the loop workflow, AI workflow with human in the loop, but we reduce cost by half basically, and development time by about half as well. So we're now that much faster, maintaining the same quality is what we believe, and humans are finishing this work. It's not AI only, but we've certainly now got a pretty significant assist. And because Tara, the woman that, if you look at the name there underneath the section course scripter, that's the chat GPT screenshot, the GPT screenshot. Tara was one of the team members most responsible for scripts, and she didn't like it. She did not enjoy writing scripts. So she was the one that persevered to really, figure this out. In terms of avatars, you can see the math here, the math and frankly, the improvement in the product. And by the way, we were terrified of doing this. We are a premium solution. Our annual subscription costs $500 for consumers and close to $1,000 for enterprise, per seat for unlimited access. For unlimited access to all of our courses. But our courses have subject matter experts, and they had been filmed in studios. But as you know, when you film in studio, it's hard to update. It's hard to really keep those courses as fresh as you want. You typically, you film in one language because you're expert. Your talent can, speak one language typically. Longer production cycles and so on. And so with our core curriculum now, for all of our AI curriculum, we really had no choice because AI changes so quickly. There's no way we could promise our clients, listen, this course won't be out of date because AI is changing almost every month, if not every week in some cases. We had to move to a different production model, a different talent strategy. And we were scared of doing this. And so we focus grouped this pretty extensively in person and online, seeing how humans would react to avatar-based instruction. And the answer was they didn't have a problem with it. In fact, younger consumers thought it was smart. They knew it was an avatar. We're not trying to hide this. We obviously disclose we're using human trained avatars. So it's the same talent, but it's their avatar. But you can see the benefit here, right? We can launch courses very quickly now, 4 weeks of scripting with the custom GPT, and then we can make the video right away. So video for us is lessons and case studies in terms of teaching these concepts. We can launch in as many languages pretty much as we want, or at least as we can afford. So we'll launch now courses on the same day in English and Portuguese and Japanese and so on. Very fast production cycle and easy to update. All we have to do, as you know, if you've used avatars, is update the scripts. There's been no change. Now we've done this now for thousands of students. No change in NPS, completion rate, or learning outcomes. No change. So something we were very concerned about, particularly for a premium learning platform like ours. We're not Udemy. So for a premium platform like ours, this was a significant change, and it was absolutely the right thing to do. The consumer, the employee, the user gets a better product. They get a product that's not out of date and is in multiple languages, and we get a better business model, quite frankly, and the ability to offer more courses. What this does is free up bandwidth to create more courses. So our production cycles have improved dramatically. So by optimizing with AI, Section has we can produce 10x the number of courses, 75% faster at 1/5 of the cost. 10x more courses, 75% faster at 1/5 of the cost. So we can build a better business. If you're an internal L&D team, you can serve your business better. You can be more valuable to your organization if you can do this, in my opinion. As a CEO, I love the sound of this. From any team, a marketing team, a sales team, an engineering team, a product team. Again, I think it's a no-brainer for L&D, meaning it's the most language intensive, if not one of the most language intensive, at least functions inside the organization alongside marketing. Okay, what's next? How do we transform L&D? How do we make this a renaissance, this moment of opportunity? I think it's this way. I don't want you to just be the upskilling partner for the organization. I want L&D to be the transformation partner, the workforce transformation partner for AI. I want you to tell your CEO, you can move the organization from anxious and confused. That is the state of most employees inside of almost all of our organizations. Anxious and confused. You want to move them to empowered, confident, and able to use AI. This is the transformation CEOs buy. This is, I think, a significant, I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for L&D, that you can be the leader, you can be the partner to make this transformation happen. Upskilling is part of it for sure, but not the only part. We know that technology isn't the main roadblock. In fact, or if it is a roadblock, it's because the technology is getting too good too fast. Really, what the challenge we have is this anxiety, this concern for jobs, this lack of comfort around where do I stop and the AI start, or vice versa. Like I think this is a big change. This is not software. I think the greatest mistake most organizations are making is they think this is software, so they buy it like software. They deploy it like software, like, okay, here's one training, or, we have LinkedIn Learning, go watch the AI classes in LinkedIn Learning, which no one ever does. So like we're treating this like it's a CRM or ERP or some new software that in an hour we're going to show people how to use it. It's not that. This is not software. This is AI. It's a co-intelligence. It's a co-pilot. It's a rapidly improving co-pilot, rapidly cognitive assistant. So we have to really acknowledge that, both the anxiety that creates, the level of training and change management that demands is higher than anything we've ever done before. Hence the opportunity for L&D. If this technology wasn't so transformative, the opportunity for L&D would not be significant. But it's because of the impact of this technology that it will have on organizations, I think, that creates this moment for L&D. We have to engineer AI proficiency. Proficiency meaning confidence and capability. We have to get people from anxious and novice to confident and capable. And we can't expect people just to figure it out. A few will. We all know we have early adopters in our organization. We all know we have people with the growth mindset. We all know we have, the curious and the ambitious. It's anywhere from 5 to 10% is our experience, is my experience of an organization of any size is that kind of person, that profile of individual, including inside of L&D. They go first, they figure it out, they'll DIY it. They're the ones using ChatGPT on their phone at work when they know they shouldn't be. We all have those in our organization. That's not enough. You know change management. You know that it's 25% minimum of an organization or team to get past the tipping point. In some organizations, it needs to be more. We have to get our organizations past the tipping point, then past 50%, and then into 80. That is the roadmap here. This is the roadmap that CEOs are going to insist on, and they're going to spend the money and find the people to do it. And I want that to be L&D. So I think you can lead. I think you can lead from this perspective of take me, my organization from 10% of employees who have AI expertise to over 50, and over 50 meaning using AI in a meaningful way. I'm anxious, turn me into someone who's confident, proficient. I've got a lot of failed AI pilots and a lot of failed like cool things I tried with AI. I mean, sure, okay, but let's get past that. Let's teach people how to build GPTs. Let's teach people how to deploy bots or agents. Let's really find the meaningful workflows and automations that AI can assist with or take over even that will deliver value to the business. We have to teach people how to do that. And agents are a good example. They're overhyped. We're not sure exactly what they are, but they're coming, and some of them are really effective. And a lot of agents will be built by employees. These technologies are going to be so easy to use. They are already so easy to use that one of the classes that we're offering is how to build your own agent, because we're getting that demand from employees. They're playing around with this stuff and they're seeing the capability. And so if that feature is turned on in the enterprise AI platform, which is called Microsoft Studio inside of Copilot, then employees want to be taught how to do it, because those early adopters want to automate these workflows. They want to build their own agents. And so that's the way we're going to get to value. Lots of AI cheerleading, including from the CEOs. I get it. And you might be frustrated, by your leadership who run around and talk about AI all the time, and they can't use it themselves. So, I think we have to lead with authority and authenticity, and that means we have to be super users ourselves. And that's the message I deliver every executive team. Every executive team, from the board to the chairman of the board to the CEO and to all direct reports, of an exec team or that's my message to them. You can't ask for this if you're not doing it yourself. That's one of the reasons I teach a class called AI's Thought Partner. Because for executives, the best way to use AI, in my opinion, the way I use AI every day, is as a thought partner, as a business coach, as a business thought partner. I think we all could be using AI that way and getting a lot of value. And I teach that to executives because I want them leading from the front, not just being a cheerleader. So lots of ways you could use AI in your role. And more importantly, what is your role in this AI transformation, in this phase 2? So you've optimized, now we're transforming, diagnosing user needs, right? Spend more time interviewing employees. That's where I want you on the front end of this, right? Interviewing employees, understanding their fears and concerns about AI, really beginning to raise this issue of change management. Be sort of the advisor, to your executive team, to your leadership around, this is not technology. This cannot be deployed like a CRM and an ERP. It can't be deployed with an hour of training. That will fail. And it is failing, quite frankly, inside of a lot of organizations. The organizations that are successful with AI, like Moderna and J&J and others, they're the ones that have figured out that this is a continuous sort of upskilling and change management challenge, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. So bring that point of view to your C-suite. Talk about and ask to own the deployment. Not the technology deployment, but the change management. Asked to own things like lunch and learns, or shout outs to AI, or prompt competitions. I think the way we think about, I think L&D can think about this differently in terms of how do we teach. It's not just sort of taking classes or learning skills, but it's the change management side of this. And some of you might already be doing this. And then, of course, as I said, using AI to create, as we did at Section, new learning experiences, ones that are frankly better. More personalized, that are more real-time, hands-on, if you will. So this is the model we use for workforce transformation. Clearly, the bottom left-hand corner, that triangle, that's L&D. But I believe you can own more of this. I believe you can also own the challenge of identifying and enabling AI champions. In your upskilling efforts with AI, you'll notice and learn about who's the champions. And then you can build a different program for them, for example. You can be more of a partner to your leadership to set the AI roadmap, or to really honestly acknowledge the challenges, and then to make investments or to propose programs that would deal with these challenges, like anxiety, finding use cases, showing your own use cases to the rest of the organization. so that you can model the behavior you want the rest of the organization to take in terms of adopting AI. When I think about as a CEO, I think you want the way to think about this, I think for you is when the CEO is thinking about who's using AI the best in my organization, you want to be in the top three, not in the bottom five. Because that's how CEOs think. Like, where is AI going best? What's going to go? It's going to go pretty well in marketing. Typically, marketers are, typically more innovative, and they know they're in a language-intensive function. And everywhere they go, everybody's telling them AI is going to make marketing more efficient. Right? Sales, as I said, software engineering. You want to be in the top three. When your CEO thinks about who in my organization is best using AI themselves internally. So you do have to train. The way I think you should think about training for AI, and I'm running out of time, Alexandria, is base level proficiency and then functional based proficiency with AI. So think about giving people the basic skills and then giving them skills as it relates to marketing, sales, and so on. Training's ongoing, not one time. We know that because AI is changing so quickly. What we did at Section is we have taken the next step, meaning we have built an AI coach. And so I would think about this as I'm trying to do two things at once. I'm trying to disrupt myself before someone else disrupts me. And I'm really trying to leverage AI to create a more magical learning experience. So we've built an application. The application is called Prof AI. Prof AI teaches you AI. So I'm currently constraining Prof AI to only teach about AI. But for organizations with more than, let's say, 100 employees, this will be the best way to learn AI. I have an amazing AI curriculum. It's called the AI Academy. Others have built AI academies, and some clients have built their own AI academies. That's great. This is better. This is better because you tell the AI who you are, what job you're in what company, in what country, and right away the learning experience is personalized. It's magical the first couple times it happens. After that, you kind of get used to it. Like all amazing experiences, they fade into the background once people get used to them. But the first time you have a real personalized, real-time learning experience, it is pretty magical. Prof AI is going to get a lot better, but what it does today is take someone who is anxious and not proficient, and within about 45 minutes to an hour and a quarter, depending on the ambition, I guess, not the ambition, I guess the application of the student and whether they're multitasking or not. But in about an hour, let's say, of conversations with Prof AI, we can take someone who is anxious and really a novice and certify them as kind of ready to go and being AI confident and proficient, and issue them a LinkedIn badge if they want one. And all that's done through conversations with a chatbot. This is built on top of OpenAI and Anthropic's technology, and it's a currently web-only enterprise application. So my point is, these are the future learning experiences that I want us all building. They are better for employees. They're not perfect. I want to, I get it. They hallucinate. They make mistakes, but in total, in my opinion, they're dramatically better learning experiences. Again, not to replace in-person learning necessarily, probably to augment or to complement that. In-person learning is amazing. I think a lot of our asynchronous learning, the vast majority of it will become AI coaching, not asynchronous employee self-directed learning. Live Zoom is also great, and I think there's always a place for that. But experiences like Prof AI, I think, are our future for all of us in terms of those who are trying to upskill or transform workforces. As I said earlier, CEOs by transformation, not upskilling. I think the opportunity for L&D is to really be the partner to drive this transformation, drive this change. This is what CEOs want to happen in the next couple, 3 years. Closing thoughts, I think you've got a two-part strategy here is what I would suggest. Optimize and then transform. Scale your learning capabilities more faster without lowering your quality. I think that's job one. Job two is ask for a seat at the table, that you can be the lead or one of the partners. It's probably a group, right? Could include technology, could include HR and talent, the talent team, how you'll make this transformation for the organization over the next year or two. It's moving fast. Optimize, I'd review every 3 months. As the AIs get better, you'll find new use cases transform at least every 12 months, maybe every 6 months. When you check in, check in with AI to see, is it good enough now to be more transformative in terms of the work that you do. Prof AI, by the way, we're on the third version of it. So again, I want to be very transparent here. V1 and V2 didn't work well enough. The AI didn't perform well enough. We didn't build it the right way. It was not easy. So that's why, when you want to build transformative learning experiences with AI, they're going to take longer and likely be harder. But frankly, it's better now than I thought it ever would be. So it was harder for me to get there, but it's better now than I ever thought it would be. There's lots to think about, but please don't let it slow you down. There are so many concerns about AI. I get it. And we didn't talk about those today. And that's a whole nother conversation. Everything from how these AIs were created in terms of violating copyright law to what is their impact on the workforce? What are the ethical and bias concerns around AI? I share all those concerns. I'm just very pragmatic. It's coming whether we like it or not, and it's coming at an alarming rate. And I think it provides or offers significant risk to anyone who's running a team that's language intensive, and that includes L&D. And the flip side of that coin is it creates a significant opportunity. You will need to act. It's coming fast. You will need to lead. Anxiety is high, and you'll need to commit. Beijing has committed. The Beijing School District has mandated 8 hours of AI training class time starting at the age of 6. Again, we might have concerns about that. And understandably, in terms of how will learning be changed? Will kids even learn? There's a New York Magazine article floating around from last week around how all these college kids at fancy colleges are basically phoning in all their coursework and just having GPT do it. I get it. I don't want to read that stuff, but it's going to happen. And I just feel like we have to be prepared, and I think we have to lead in this moment. And just know that you'll go through this journey. You've probably already been through some of this already. I don't think it ends, meaning working with AI is a roller coaster. That's been my experience, and I'm sure it's probably to some extent some of yours. That there's moments of great hope, and then moments of anxiety, and then moments where the AI works really well, and then it's moments where the AI doesn't work that well. I think that this is the roller coaster we're going to be on for the next few years, but I think we need to be on it for ourselves individually and for our teams, particularly for L&D teams. I hope that you can craft a more meaningful place in this transformation. I believe you can.